I went abroad to learn English. But on my first day, I could not even answer one simple question. I was not lazy. I wanted to speak, but real English was much harder than I expected. Then I changed one daily habit, and slowly, English became something I could actually use. My story, From Silent to Speaking. Part 1. I couldn't speak. When I first went abroad, I honestly thought my English would improve naturally. I thought, if I live in an English-speaking country, I will probably start speaking English little by little. But I was wrong. I arrived with very weak English skills. I had studied some grammar. I knew some basic words. I could read simple sentences. But when real people spoke to me, everything felt too fast. On my first day with my host family, they were very kind. They smiled. They asked me simple questions. But I could not answer properly. They said something like, "How was your flight?" I understood maybe one word, flight. I wanted to say, "It was okay, but I'm tired." But my mind became blank. So I just smiled and said, "Yes." That was my first problem. I could understand a little English on paper, but I could not use English in real life. And that difference was much bigger than I expected. At the language school, I had the same problem. The teacher spoke clearly, but I still missed many words. My classmates introduced themselves. Some students spoke with confidence. Some made jokes. Some asked questions. I just sat there and listened. When someone spoke to me, I often said, "Sorry," or "I don't know." I felt embarrassed. I was not lazy. I wanted to learn. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to talk to people from different countries. But wanting to speak English and actually speaking English were completely different things. For the first few days, I felt very lonely. I was living in another country, but I could not join the conversations around me. At dinner, my host family talked about their day. I wanted to understand them. I wanted to answer. I wanted to ask questions. But I could not find the words quickly enough. After dinner, I went back to my room and thought, "What am I doing here?" I had come all this way, but I could not even have a simple conversation. That was the first turning point. I realized that going abroad was not enough. Being in an English-speaking environment was helpful, but it was not magic. If I stayed silent every day, my English would not improve very much. So I decided to change one thing. Part 2. Self-talk changed everything. Every day, in my room, I started speaking English to myself. At first, it was very simple. I said things like, "I am tired. I went to school today." I didn't understand the lesson. I want to talk more tomorrow. I need to ask one question. They were not difficult sentences, but they were real sentences from my real life. That was important. I was not just memorizing random textbook sentences. I was practicing the English I actually needed. After school, I tried to remember what I wanted to say that day, but could not say. For example, maybe I wanted to ask a classmate, "What did you do after school yesterday?" But at school, I could not say it quickly. So that night, I practiced it in my room. "What did you do after school yesterday? What did you do after class? Did you go anywhere after school? Do you want to get coffee after class?" I repeated the sentences many times. The next day, I tried to use one of them. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it did not. Sometimes the conversation went in a different direction, and I got confused again. But slowly, I started to notice something. If I practiced a sentence many times before using it, I could say it more easily in a real conversation. This sounds simple, but it changed everything for me. Before that, I thought speaking English meant creating perfect sentences in the moment. But later, I understood that speaking is also a habit. We can say thank you quickly because we have heard it and used it many times. We do not translate it slowly in our heads. We just say it. That is what I wanted to do with more sentences. I wanted simple English to become automatic. So I kept practicing. Part 3. I practiced before real conversations. Every night, I made small conversation plans. I imagined tomorrow. I imagined meeting a classmate in the hallway. I imagined sitting next to someone before class. I imagined talking to my host family at dinner. Then I prepared 2 or 3 sentences. Not 20 sentences, not a long speech. Just 2 or 3 useful sentences. For example, how was your weekend? What kind of food do you like? I went to the supermarket yesterday. I'm still not used to listening to fast English. Could you say that again more slowly? These sentences were not special, but they helped me enter conversations. And sometimes, I gently moved the conversation toward a topic I had practiced. For example, if I had practiced talking about food, I might ask, "What food do you recommend here?" Then the other person would answer. After that, I could use another sentence I had prepared. That does not mean I controlled the conversation completely. Real conversations are not scripts. but preparation gave me a starting point. And for a beginner or intermediate learner, a starting point is very important. Without a starting point, you may stay silent. With one prepared sentence, you can open the door. I also used English stories and conversation videos. When I watched a simple English conversation, I did not only listen. I imagined myself in that situation. If the character ordered coffee, I practiced ordering coffee. If the character asked for directions, I practiced asking for directions. If the character said, "Could you explain that again?" I repeated it until it felt natural. This kind of practice helped me because real life often repeats similar situations. Ordering food, asking questions, meeting new people, explaining a problem, talking about plans, saying what you did yesterday. These are common situations. If you practice them before they happen, you feel less nervous when they happen in real life. Part 4. I chose to use English every day. Another rule I made was this. At school, I would try to speak English as much as possible. This was not always easy. There were students from my own country. Of course, it was comfortable to talk with them in our native language. And I understand why many students do that. When you are tired, lonely, or stressed, your own language feels safe. I do not think it is bad, but I had a clear goal. I wanted to speak English better. I wanted to make friends from different countries. I wanted to use English for international communication and maybe for work in the future. So when I was with students from my own country, I tried to include students from other countries too. Then we naturally had to use English. At first, my English was slow. I made many mistakes. Sometimes I used the wrong tense. Sometimes I forgot simple words. Sometimes I explained something in a very long and strange way. But people still understood me most of the time. That was another important lesson. I did not need perfect English to communicate. I needed usable English, clear English, honest English, English that helped me connect with people. On the bus home, I could not speak out loud, but I still practiced in my mind. I remembered sentences from the day. If someone had said, "What are you doing this weekend?" I repeated it in my head. Then I answered silently, "I'm not sure yet. I might go shopping. I want to rest. I need to study." I did this almost every day. It was like silent self-talk. I was training my mind to respond in English. My host family also helped me a lot. I was very lucky because they were kind and patient. One day, they suggested that I write a short diary every night. Not a long essay, just a few sentences. So I started writing things like, "Today I went to school. I talked with a student from another country. The lesson was difficult. I want to ask more questions tomorrow." My host family corrected some mistakes. They did not make me feel bad. They just helped me see better ways to say things. This diary practice was very useful. Writing helped me organize my thoughts. Reading the corrections helped me notice my mistakes. Speaking helped me use the sentences with real people. These skills supported each other. Reading and writing were important. Listening was important, but for speaking, I had to open my mouth. That was the part I had ignored before. Before going abroad, I studied English mostly with my eyes. I read words, I looked at grammar, I checked meanings. But I did not train my mouth enough. So when I needed to speak, my mouth was not ready. After I started self-talk, my mouth slowly got used to English sounds and English rhythm. I still made mistakes, but I could speak faster than before. I could answer simple questions. I could ask people to repeat. I could start small conversations. And little by little, I made friends. Not only with people from my own country, but also with people from other countries. Some were from Europe. Some were from Asia. Some were from South America. Some were native English speakers. Every conversation gave me more confidence. Not because my English was perfect. It was not, but because I could survive real conversations. I could communicate. I could laugh. I could explain myself. I could ask for help. And that made me want to keep going. Part 5. What really helped me improve? During the same period, I saw different types of students. Some students improved a lot. Some students did not improve very much. The biggest difference was not always talent. It was not always grammar knowledge. It was often how they spent their time outside class. Some students stayed only with people from their own country. They spoke their native language every day. They enjoyed their life abroad, and I think that is completely okay. Studying abroad is not only about English. It can also be about travel, friendship, culture, and life experience. So I do not want to judge them, but I chose something different. I wanted both. I wanted to enjoy the experience, and I wanted to improve my English. I wanted a kind of two-in-one experience. So even when I was tired, I tried to use English. Even when I felt embarrassed, I tried again. Even when I lost confidence, I reminded myself why I had come. I wanted to be able to speak to people from around the world. I wanted more choices in my future. I wanted to stop feeling afraid every time someone asked me a simple question in English. That goal kept me going. Looking back, I do not think there was one magic method. Self-talk alone was not everything. The diary helped, the host family helped, the language school helped. My classmates helped. Conversation practice helped. Listening practice helped. But self-talk was the habit that connected everything. It helped me prepare before conversations. It helped me review after conversations. It helped me turn passive English into active English. And it helped me speak even when no one was there to practice with me. That is why I still recommend it. If you want to speak English, do not wait until you feel ready. You may never feel completely ready. Start with one sentence. Say what you are doing. Say what you feel. Say what you want to do tomorrow. Imagine a conversation before it happens. Practice asking one question. Practice answering one question. Use simple English many times. Because simple English used every day is more powerful than difficult English that stays only in your notebook. I started with almost no confidence. I could not understand my host family. I could not follow my classes. I could not join conversations. But I did not stay silent forever. I practiced in my room. I practiced in my mind on the bus. I wrote a simple diary. I used English at school. I made mistakes. I tried again. And slowly, English became something I could actually use. So if you are studying English now and you feel behind, please do not give up. You do not need to become perfect first. You need to begin using the English you already have. Next video, the self-talk phrases I used every day. They are simple, practical, and useful for real conversations. You can use them in your room, on your way to school, before work, or before meeting someone. Because speaking practice does not always need a teacher. Sometimes it starts with one quiet sentence you say to yourself.